Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone, and I hope you've been made to feel very welcome here today at the Institute of Directors. Now, for those of you who are not aware, I've actually got a construction background myself, and at first when I came here into this beautiful building, it was quite a bit of a culture shock when this became my office. Because I was much more used to being on site with a hard hat and not having this sort of standard of accommodation, shall we say. But it's great to be in a building like this where you can look around and see history at every step. When you look at some of the amazing artifacts that exist in the building and some of the absolutely fascinating paintings, even here in this room if you have a look around. Whilst clearly there's a lot to love about this building, and it takes quite a bit of time getting used to all the high ceilings as well, and the wooden paneling, the sculptures. In fact, just speaking of wooden paneling and sculptures, I don't know if any of you have noticed downstairs when you come in. As you come in at the right-hand side, there's actually a bust of Lord Nelson. And that is the most accurate image that exists of Lord Nelson, because that's the only bust or painting that was actually, that's the only bust that was actually done during his actual lifetime. So if you haven't already seen it, I would urge you to have a look at it. Now, someone was already asking me earlier about this building being used for television programs and for films. And yes, Rowan Atkinson was here for Johnny English number 3 or 4, whatever it was, a few months back. But also, the film Gandhi, which I'm sure many of you have seen, was actually, there was some scenes actually shot for that here, and indeed in this very room that you're sitting in. And it is not often that you can say something like that about your workplace when you see it on the TV and in films on quite a regular basis. Now, our members also appreciate having this history around them, but sometimes having such a fascinating history around you can threaten to draw attention away from where it should be, which is, of course, always to the future. Now, all of us here know that having a business-as-usual attitude doesn't just cut it. Now, Steve and James, when they spoke to me about speaking here today, they thought it would be interesting for me to speak about what we see as important at the IOD for the future, what we should be doing, and it might provide an interesting slant on some of the things that the NFRC is actually looking into itself. But first, to just say a bit more about myself very, very briefly. Before becoming Director General of the Institute of Directors, I ran the Clugston Group, a construction, logistics, property development firm based up in Scunthorpe. And I started working in construction in quantity surveying, which I've already spoke to somebody from Belfast here today, which I studied over in Belfast, before I made the jump into different management roles in various different sectors. And throughout my career, I've found that the IOD support has really been immensely valuable to me as a member. So when the opportunity arose for me to contribute to the Institute by becoming Director General, I really couldn't turn down the chance. Now, of course, the small matter of Brexit around the corner also makes this a very, very interesting time to be representing British business. But I'm sure you will all understand if I steer clear of that topic this afternoon, if only just to give us all a nice bit of break here today. Now, as I've mentioned already, the IOD has a great history behind it. We were founded in 1903, and we received a Royal Charter in 1906. And that Royal Charter sets out very clearly our mission in very clear terms. And that is to support and represent directors and the wider business community and to raise standards for British business. But we must always be asking the question, how does this apply to the directors of today and tomorrow? What do they see as core to their membership? And this is a question we have been putting great effort into answering. Now, I think the simple act of joining an institute or a federation says that certain things about you, regardless of whether you have a royal charter to actually have to read line by line. Now, you join an institute because you feel that what you do deserves to be done to a certain standard. You join an institute because you want to learn more about what it is to spend most of your life actually doing, and you feel that there is always more to learn. And you join an institute because you understand the benefits of meeting like-minded people who are facing similar challenges to yourself. And it is this last reason that emerged as the clearest reason our members have for joining the IOD. In a way, I think it is linked to the two other reasons, but I think it is worth emphasizing why this sense of community can be so important to business. Because in many respects, traditional networking gets a bad name, I would say. But if it is done well, it can bring tangible benefits both to you as an individual, as well as the company that you're actually part of. And I know from my own personal experience the benefits that you can actually gain from having that sense of community and that sense of support. Indeed, it was one of the main reasons that I agreed to become Director General. Now, I want to instill this sense of community to more and more people entering the world of business. On a professional level, I could ask for advice and use a friendly sounding board to work through some of the business issues I faced. And on a personal level, simply meeting and talking to a group of people who had been there and done what I wanted to do was a deeply beneficial experience and redoubled my commitment to my work. And indeed, meeting interesting people who shared my enthusiasm for business underlined to me that this is what I felt at home doing. Now, we all know that being in any sort of leadership role can be a lonely pursuit. But this is very much a case of can be, not should be. Now, some people have in mind a stereotype of great leaders as mavericks who chart their own path. And indeed, this is true in some cases. But the best leaders that I have met succeed through their ability to listen to others, and who better really to get advice from and support from than your peers across different industries. But the evidence for the importance of strong networks in business is not simply based on personal experience. It is increasingly borne out by research as well. Only a few months ago, there was a study from the Bank of England, and it found that firms could increase their productivity growth by 1% a year just through having better connected directors on their boards. Simply by enabling knowledge and ideas to percolate, you can see a tangible increase in the performance of a business. And this cuts across other areas of growth as well. When we surveyed our members on exporting, we actually found that the most common reason for starting to trade abroad was because of their contacts. So the main factor in whether these businesses exported, something that could really change the whole outlook and character of the organization, was nothing more and nothing less than the professional relationships built up by the company's directors. And the government's own export strategy takes networking as one of its core themes. To me, all of this underlines that networking, engaging with fellow business leaders, isn't simply an extracurricular pastime. Instead, it can be one of the surest paths to actually help a firm to grow. So we, as an institute, need to find new ways to make good on this aspect of business. As you all know, digital technology is not just opening up new avenues of connection, it is changing the way people think about connection altogether. And this is something we are aiming to build across other areas of our membership. Indeed, recently we've just launched a digital academy app, and it's helping to make our professional development offering more readily available to members. Our policy work itself is becoming more responsive through online means such as surveys. But our broader aim is to apply this at a more fundamental level to see how members actually interact with each other and to actively encourage and support it. At its essence, we want to help create a digitally connected community of leaders. Of course, we would never want to replace other means of interaction. In fact, quite the reverse. It should act as a complement to traditional forms of connecting. But what digital can offer in particular is the opportunity to cut across geographies and sectors in a way that is more tailored to an individual's actual needs. And this is precisely what the IOD is at its best. a means to connect people of diverse business backgrounds, but of shared values and outlook. But as I said, this objective of increasing a sense of community does not exist in a vacuum. It is closely linked to the other reasons that people join that I've touched upon, what those shared values are. And when we talk to our members, it is clear that they take seriously the Institute's goal of raising the standards by which British business are run. Of course, it goes without saying that there is no silver bullet to achieving this. And if there was, I guess we could all go home now and put up our feet in time for Christmas. In reality, there is a difficult but important balance to strike between allowing flexibility and entrepreneurialism to flourish and ensuring high standards are as widely held as possible. Because of this, we have been consulting widely with members across the country over recent months, testing different ideas, listening to different perspectives, and this process is an ongoing one. On the one hand, directorship is not a profession in the same sense as it is for accountancy and law, but because there are no legal training requirements, nor is it necessary actually to be a member of a professional body. So, on the other hand, when we look at it, the requirements and the expectations on directors seem to increase all the time. On top of this, they are increasingly becoming a matter of public and political interest. And it is in this context that we have to keep in mind that we are looking to the future of business leadership. As I said earlier, digital technology is connecting people like never before, but it is also vastly increasing the scrutiny that businesses are finding themselves under. The man or woman on the street has at their fingertips now access to much more information about a firm's actions and supply chains than ever before. With business practice more and more in the spotlight, calls for stringent regulation inevitably grow stronger. As an institute, we cannot duck these difficult questions. We have to find a way to address these concerns whenever they emerge, while preventing onerous regulation from stopping directors reacting to risks. Because whilst regulation is aimed at supporting the ability of directors to react to emerging risks, it is always in danger of instead simply replacing the ability of becoming a crutch that stops firms from staying sharp and being alive to the political pitfalls and all the other issues that go alongside that. Now, at the Institute of Directors, we will always emphasize the second part of the equation, the importance of having highly skilled business leaders who are able to confront new risks, but also able to find new opportunities and who understand the benefits that come with strong corporate governance. And because of this, we have been considering new ways to make professional development more integral to what we offer members. Building on what so many members have told us, we want to make the IOD membership a real marker of integrity in business. But of course, this is a two-way street. The learning we must offer has to be provided on a timetable and in a manner that is suitable to the busiest people in the country. This is quite a mountain to climb, but it is one that we must climb nonetheless. Now, part of this will, as I've already mentioned, come down to harnessing new technology, but many of our ideas going forward will tie right back into what I've been saying about this sense of community amongst IOD members. Because when we came to members to understand where they felt they could get more opportunity to learn, we discovered that a key part of what they wanted was a greater facility to learn from one another, through mentoring, through group discussions, and indeed many other informal means. So it emerged that the openness to new ideas and the belief that these can be found among other members was a crucial part of how members viewed the IOD. And to take full advantage of that, it is our job to encourage that sense of community using new ideas and technology, which will in turn create more opportunity to learn and develop, further strengthening the network. Now, there is clearly a virtuous circle here, and it is one that we aim to make the most of for all of our members. So I suppose that is what I see as important for creating the IOD of the future, but I feel there are ideas that are held in common across all business membership bodies, including the NFRC, of course, and there are principles that we can all share amongst our members. And on that note, I'd just like to finish and to say thank you to the NFRC. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me along. And I really do wish you all a very enjoyable conference and dinner here tonight. So thank you very much indeed.